Thank you so much, guys, for being here. Brittany Kaiser, Alex, welcome to the Bitcoin Italia podcast, and thank you really for being here.
Thank you so much for having us. I feel like this morning is one of the more emotive mornings of my entire life. We were just able to do an interview with His Excellency Deputy Minister of Digital Transformation,
Nice.
Alex Bornikov, in Ukraine. He's in the middle of a war, and he actually took a lot of his time today to discuss with us and the global crypto community what it means that we have rallied behind them and really organized faster than governments in
Right.
order to provide crowdsourced humanitarian aid.
Fantastic. Alex Mashinsky, Celsius, you just did something that I think is astonishing. Can you briefly explain us what you did to the Ukrainian people?
Well, I didn't do anything.
Right.
With the crypto community came together overnight, right? Brittany helped organize it. Really, I think you were the seed of the idea as well. So really pulled together people from all over the world, from 100. We think it's like over 100 countries. People from over 100 countries participated in helping.
Donate.
But not just donate; they vote with the Ukraine, right? We
Right.
stand with the Ukraine. So Brittany and I are Ukrainian. I was born in Ukraine. She's second generation Ukrainian. So obviously the fight is very.
You feel it.
Of course, for us, you see her in tears.
Right.
I'm just hiding my tears, but they're there. I promise you. I just trying not to let them out. But really, for us, it's much more visceral. It's much more passionate. But everybody in the world, I think 8 billion people, are looking at what's happening in the Ukraine, and
It's
almost
horrible.
almost everybody is siding with the Ukrainian people. And frankly, I think Putin was expecting to just walk into town, walk into Kiev, no resistance, the same way he had in Georgia and other countries where he could just do whatever he wanted. And the Ukrainian people said, no, we're
Right.
going to defend our freedoms. If we have to, we will sacrifice our lives to defend the freedoms for our children, for ourselves. So really,
All over the world.
right.
Right.
We didn't do anything. We are just here to support all the people who are actually doing the voting.
No, he's wrong. He did do something. He gave a donation to every single Ukrainian that exists. That's 40 million people. If you make a Celsius wallet, you can go and claim your donation. If you already had a Celsius wallet, it's already in your wallet. So
Yeah.
he made one of the biggest donations that has ever been offered in the world for anything.
Well,
So-
Brittany, he was trying to be humble.
I know,
Thank-
but I can't let him do that.
Listen, really, you are not wearing a Tiffany necklace. You are wearing a Own Your Data necklace. The world knows you because you worked for Cambridge Analytica, and you are the famous whistleblower. We owe you a lot. We do a lot for freedom all over the world, and this is what ultimately Bitcoin is about, right? So I wanted to ask you, there is a lot going on the Bitcoin blockchain, cool project to decentralize the social network and give us back powers on our own data. Please tell me how important this is for our species.
Our data, our time, attention, our value, our digital assets are the most valuable asset in the world. It was 2017 when The Economist said that data surpassed the value of oil and gas. So in legacy systems, we have not had access to any of that value. Legacy technologies were built top down to be extract as much value out of users as possible. What Web3 has done, the transition from Web2 to Web3, what blockchain technology has been able to accomplish is that the encryption that creates tokens, that encryption, a smart contract, gives you control, permission structures, and the ability to actually decide how you own and use your value. If you want to share that data or that value with other people or not, and on your own terms. And what we have seen today is that the digital asset value of everyone in the global crypto community, as you said, has voted that we are with the people of Ukraine. We have voted for freedom with our data, our valuable data that is now encrypted into tokens, because that's all that cryptocurrencies are. They are encrypted blocks of data of ones and zeros that are incredibly valuable. And we have decided to use that to support the people of Ukraine in their time of need.
Fantastic.
I'll add to that because it's a very important point, right? So just like we had the internet revolution, we now have a new revolution. It's a data revolution, right? And it's driven by cryptography. Most people think crypto is some bad thing. Cryptography is math. It's beautiful, right?
And it's everywhere.
It's perfection.
It's
yes.
in WhatsApp.
It's in science.
We
it's
use
in
it
physics.
every day,
everywhere.
So there's no need to be
Nature,
scared.
right? Nature has cryptography. Our DNA is just a form of cryptography, right? So we now have a new rails, completely new technology that is the future, right? And we have to decide, all of us as people, we have to decide to side with what Brittany is saying, right? Why? Because many companies who come into cryptography or into crypto, they bring the bad habits of the past. So do you want to bring Facebook and Google and so into this new revolution, or do you want to side with true decentralization? So the user has to be very smart and very careful not to empower, because now your data in the new world is yours. You can decide, do you give it to the old people who basically monetize it for you, right? They took all the money, or do you want to keep it for yourself and you decide how you use it? So it's a very important point in history. And every new person who's joining cryptography has to decide, do I side with people who are empowering decentralization, or I just transfer all of my data from the old system to the new system?
Absolutely. Guys, what we are doing here feels so right? We are sitting on the right side of history,
yes.
And we are 100% sure of it, but still, there is so much work we have to do, right? This is just the beginning. In my podcast, I interview a very good friend of mine that 3 years ago went to Ukraine, to war zone, to understand what Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies adoption was there. And he found out that this is such a powerful tool that empowers people on one side, but on the other side, very little Ukrainians are using it at the moment because they simply don't know there is an option. So we have to work so hard to give this tool to everyone, right? Sometimes here in the first world, we think it's done. The war, we won the war. But I have the feeling this is just the beginning. What do you guys think?
13 years since Bitcoin came out, and it still does feel like very early days. I think I spend a lot of time explaining this to people that feel like they're too late to get involved in crypto or Bitcoin. It's still so early. We are so early. We only have a handful of governments around the world who have even passed legislation on digital assets and cryptocurrencies, and not that government decision making is the way that the industry grows or not, but it just tells you how early we are, that this is still an individual and private sector initiatives that is starting to be adopted by governments. Otherwise, a lot of these government structures are going to be replaced by new government structures that are coming out of the fastest and largest technology revolution that we've ever seen.
Right. Alex, recently Ukraine passed a law on cryptocurrencies, right? What's your take on that? Don't you think it was something easy to do because they are in their need of it? But before, they were kind of skeptical. We have to try to find a way to push the governments to be more brave. Don't you think?
Well, the deputy minister just told us that he was working on this for 2 years. It's not something that happened overnight because of the war or because pressure from the outside. And look, when bombs are falling in your streets and your ATM machine doesn't work and the bank doesn't open, what do you do, right? So the Bitcoin works 24/7, 365. It doesn't matter where you are on the planet, it works, right? As long as you have connectivity, it works. So I think Ukraine saw that as a benefit, as an opportunity, not as something they have to do. This wasn't like something begrudgingly that they did. They also want to, again, take their people. The country wants to move their people to the future. And the future is digital, and the future is cryptography. It's not oil or wheat or making nuclear weapons for Russia. Ukraine used to make all the nuclear weapons for Russia, you know? So all of that is in the past, and I think the Ukrainian people, the Ukrainian government decided to leave that, push it back, and then focus on the future. Give their people a freedom and give their people an opportunity using this new thing. And they're ahead of almost everybody else, right? They're ahead of the United States. They're ahead of Europe, yeah, who's still thinking and sitting there and thinking, is Bitcoin good? Is Bitcoin bad?
Ukraine already had the highest penetration of crypto adoption of any country in the world, and I would say probably the highest number of actual blockchain developers. Most of the blockchain platforms that we know and love were built by Ukrainians.
Absolutely. It's such a techie country. I use a lot of software being developed in Ukraine, so it makes perfectly sense.
Exactly.
Brittany, one quick question for you. How your life changed after the great hack? And I have another question. Was it scary
So
to do what you do what you did, of course?
I'll answer the second one first, which is when you decide to become a whistleblower, they call it a crisis of conscience moment, where you don't feel like you could actually go on with your life if you don't make a decision like that.
Right.
And so therefore it's like jumping off a cliff without knowing if you have a parachute, let alone if it works. You just go because it's what you have to do, and you don't know what the consequences will be. And I was lucky. I was actually completely blessed to have the team from the Great Hack there the day that I became a whistleblower, and started to do my first interview with them the next day. And 9 months later, they produced the world's most popular documentary ever made, Until the Social Dilemma came along, about the same issues with a lot of my friends, like Tristan Harris in it. And these issues are now the most popular pieces of content in the entire world. The Great Hack broke all of Netflix's, fiction content, the big Hollywood blockbusters.
Record.
More people, hundreds of millions of people around the world were seeing this. And the ability to get content and conversations like this about these issues out there, it has to be interesting, it has to be fast-paced, it has to be sexy. Otherwise, talking about cryptography is so confusing for most people that they can't digest it. Therefore, they don't care about their data and their privacy. Therefore, they don't care about the value that we all inherently have as human beings. The ones and zeros that we produce that are the most valuable asset on earth, people don't care. So we have to make them care, by wearing things like this.
Exactly.
And just to add to what Brittany just said, she had to be brave more than once. You have to be brave the first time by being a whistleblower, but then you become a public personality. And many people don't understand what you do, and they hate you. They send you bad messages. You have to go and hide. She doesn't tell you, but she had to actually disappear.
Incredible.
So you have to be brave every
you're
day.
A brave woman.
You have to be brave every day.
We needed to know that. So thank you so much. Guys, thank you so much for taking some time to talk to an indie podcast like ours. I really appreciate it.
Anytime you need a Ukrainian, call us back. No problem.
I like to party with Ukrainians, so we should do that, guys.
Absolutely.
Thank
Such a
you
pleasure.
so much, Brittany, Alex.
Thanks.
Thank you
Yep.
so much.